This episode is brought to you by Naked Fig Soap. Shop over a dozen handcrafted artisan soaps locally sourced and made in Arizona using the finest non-toxic intentional ingredients. Naked Fig Soap also offers facial care products along with accessories like soap dishes, soap saver bags, and more.
Visit their website at nakedfigsoap.com and use code DRUMMINGUP, all one word, for 20% off online orders. And that is the best place to find her now.
Yes.
She doesn't really have a storefront so much as she has
As of right now.
Yeah, as of right now,
Yes.
she has her products in certain locations,
Yes.
which again is the best place to find her is at her nakedfigsoap.com website.
Yes.
Or her socials. Instagram is a great spot to find her. Ask her any questions where she's going to be at like a farmer's market.
Yes.
You can find all that out. Or
But coming up, she's
Yeah.
moving to bigger and better opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. And we're very happy to hear that because,
Yes.
we just want to make
She's one
sure
of our
she's doing okay.
favorite companies.
Oh, yeah. Whenever we're getting low, we always place our order.
Yes.
And again, use that code drumming up,
Yes.
all one word, to get that 20% off discount.
For sure.
nakedfigsoap.com. It'll be in the show notes. We'll have her website. And then the best thing to do is from the website, go find her socials, follow her. That helps her. And by you doing that, it helps us because we know you're listening. We know you're buying her great products. She also offers tattoo care and everything too.
Yes,
so
she does.
just a ton of stuff that she does. It's all locally made and everything. So what was that website again?
That is nakedfigsoap.com.
Using code drumming
Drumming
up,
Up.
all one word, for 20% off at checkout.
Hi there, this is Julian of Gorod, and you are listening to Drumming Up Conversation. Hell yeah.
Drumming up conversation. Drumming up, yeah. Drumming up, drumming up conversation. Drumming up, drumming up, drumming up conversation. Drumming up, drumming up, drumming up conversation. Drumming up, drumming up, drumming up conversation. Yeah!
Hello and welcome to Drumming Up Conversation. I'm Justin Wood.
I'm Andrea Wood. Intro and outro music is provided by Arizona prog metal band Temporal Displacement. You can find their music anywhere you listen to your favorite music. You can email us at drummingupconversation@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. You can follow us on you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Drumming Up Conversation and on X at Drum Conversing. Don't forget to follow our podcast on YouTube and on Spotify
And Apple.
and give us a 5-star rating and review and tell a friend.
Yeah, and we're releasing a lot of our older guests that we had Zoom calls with, and we can put those on YouTube, and they are going on there every Friday, so make sure to check those out. They're a lot of fun because I never watched them after we did the actual episode. I was just listening to it, so
Right.
it's been fun going back and watching those and getting reactions and stuff like that, and seeing how we look then and now and how everything is with the old podcast and the new one,
Yeah.
as far as like we were just talking through the computer microphone. Now we've got these great microphones that the great Bill Hines gave us and everything, and just how much further we've gotten since those early days. So yeah, today's going to be a fun guest. It's going to be a mental health episode. We haven't done one of those in a while, and this is someone that I saw on the Gracious 2 podcast, and she seemed very interesting, had a crazy life, and we'll get into that as she comes on and everything. But yeah, it's with Tammy Vincent, and she has a podcast called Adult Child of Dysfunction, and she releases, there's sometimes I've seen like 4 episodes a week and stuff like that, so she's always going, and it's really cool. So yeah,
First 3 are intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I found it so late, it's just like, okay, I honestly do not have time to go through all these before we have
Right.
her on. So I'm going to, kind of pick ones that pertain to what we talk about. And obviously listening to the first one at least is a good indication, kind of like with us, if anyone, comes on as a guest and all that. So, here she comes right now.
Yay.
So today we are joined by Tammy Vincent. She has a podcast called Adult Child of Dysfunction. We're going to talk a little mental health with you and what causes it, solutions, stuff like that. So how are you doing today?
Very good. How are you?
Doing
Very
well.
well.
Doing well. Yes, of course. Thank you for coming on.
For sure.
So first, I guess we can start off with just how you got in touch with the guys from the Gracious Two, Chad Gracie and J Ro.
Probably through Need a Guest on Facebook. That is where I
Okay.
usually make most of my connections.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Interesting. Cool.
I've never
Yeah.
even heard of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Interesting.
Or then it could be Speaker's Playhouse
Okay.
if it wasn't that. So it's one of the two.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's how I found out about you. I listen to theirs every Tuesday as much as I can, and I just saw you. I was like, oh, you would be very fun to talk to because we've done mental health episodes before. That's how this started. Was because of that. So it's very important to us to discuss it as often as we can. Because I do think it does help a lot of people. We've had people reach out to us after we've aired them, like, man, that I was on my way to a therapy session, and it helped me realize what I need to talk about and reminded me of things I need to go over, and it just helped me get ready for that session. So I know how important it is.
And you only have to hear one thing to change your whole life.
Exactly, exactly. So what was your childhood like?
It was very tumultuous. So both of my parents were alcoholics. My mom was what I consider a non-functioning and my dad a functioning, although I really don't like those terms because that tends to say if you're functioning that you're doing everything right. But he was going to work, he was doing all those things. So yes, he was functioning in that realm. But as far as what it was like at home, it was crazy. So my father battled his own demons, my mother being one of them. And so he just wasn't there. And my mother, on the other hand, was like that abusive alcoholic, very manipulative. She was a complete narcissist, which I didn't know at the time. To me, she was just a mean lady. And it was just really crazy. I can remember being afraid for my life a lot and hiding a lot, eating a lot to soothe myself. I can remember stealing cookies and running grabbing a pack of cookies and going and sleeping under the drainage ditch so I could be safe. And I thought it was my norm. I only had one family that we really hung out with, and our parents partied together. So I never really saw that sense of normalcy and didn't really realize what it does to someone until I was ready to go out into the real world and realized how many general basic life skills I was lacking.
Yeah.
So I was listening to your third episode yesterday, and just as I pulled up to work, it ended with you saying your mom was a child psychologist?
She was a child psychiatrist. Yes, she was a
Psychiatrist.
doctor. Yeah, so
And
yeah, I know, right? You're
wow,
thinking,
yes.
how could you? Well, and it's like a double-edged sword there because she knew what she was doing.
Mhm.
And she was so distraught and had so many mental issues that I feel in my heart, even now, even though I've forgiven her for everything, she was purposely very manipulative. And so I tell people, I was like, I was taught by the best. I mean, you talk about someone that can manipulate, it's someone that not only knows the brain, but
Right.
is a child psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I was walking into my office and that just hung with me. I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, and you think, how could you do that? Like you're literally a child psychiatrist. You know what kind of damage this does to a child.
Yes.
But she was just trying to calm her own. She was literally just trying to survive herself and get one little itty bitty sense of something in her life. I think I don't know. I don't know what she was looking for, but obviously, addiction is trying to fill some void. And she had mental health issues when she was a child. She was an anorexic. And her father, my grandfather, was also a child psychiatrist.
Oh, wow.
And his answer when she was 13 and anorexic was send her to boarding school in Europe for 4 years and
Okay.
just wash his hands of her.
Wow.
Right.
So obviously, you talk about things being generational.
Yeah.
The patterns didn't stop.
Yeah. And really, like, it's the hurt people thing too, like, and unfortunately that's such a major thing. And there's a lot of people that don't do it, but there's a lot of people that also do. Like, well, I went through this, I'm going to put someone else through it. Whereas some other people have the mentality of, I went through this, I know how it feels, I'm not doing this to somebody else.
Right.
So, and I've met both walks of life, so definitely.
Yeah.
What was it at 26 that you had like that realization of exactly what happened? Like, did something trigger that, or how did that come about?
Yes, I was actually getting ready to have my first child, and I was pregnant, and obviously I knew I had one job in this world, and that is to not be my mother. Like literally that was my one goal, was to do everything the opposite. But I was reading that book, Love You Forever. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
He
It's like
has a copy of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a really cute children's book for the listeners that have never read it. It's a very cute children's book about an unconditional love between her mother
Right.
and her son. And he's going through all these phases of life, and she's continuing to love him, all the things he makes, mistakes he makes, and all the times he messes up. And she's singing him this song about loving him forever. And at the end, the tides are turned, and she's now old and weak and frail. And he's rocking her back and forth, singing, I love you forever, my mommy you'll be. So it was this, what should have been a beautiful moment, being seven
Mm.
months, 6 months pregnant. It was like getting hit by a 2x4, because I realized I don't even understand the concept of unconditional love. Like, how was I going to love this baby? I've never even experienced it.
Mhm.
That heartwarming, like melting feeling that you should have for your children. I had never experienced it, and I panicked. I literally panicked. And so I went down to the library. There wasn't the internet at this time. God, I wish there was. And just poured myself into everything I could possibly read. And that's when I realized, like, wow, I got some work to do. But
Mhm.
then first thing I was going to do is make sure this baby was okay. So I did the only logical thing I could think of. I went out and bought a puppy.
Mhm.
And I thought, what a way to test the human spirit to see if I'm even capable. And I'll tell you what, that was 26. And I remember it was like yesterday, holding that little puppy in my hands, and my heart freaking melted. And sorry if I don't know if I can say freaking,
You could say
but
Oh,
whatever you want.
yeah.
okay. So, I mean, literally melted. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, this is what it feels like. Like, I can do that. Like, I can do this. And that's when I knew I was going to be okay. But I knew I had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we could go back a little bit further, when did you leave home? At what
When I
age?
was 17.
And how
Seven.
were you able to get out of there?
My dad had sent me to live with my mother for a short stint, and it was the worst stint of my life. And when I finally decided I'm going to die if I stay here, so I went back home on Easter break, and I told my father, you can keep me or you can kick me out. I don't care what you do at this point. Um, he said, you can stay, but there's going to be some rules and boundaries. And I was, boundaries, like curfew. Like, what are you talking about? I've never been told. Like, it was crazy. So I just left. I just
Mhm.
went, and there was a friend I had, and his father had a third floor extra room with a bathroom and a small kitchen. And I paid $80 a week to live with him
Wow.
Nice.
and
So
just
then
left.
when did you meet your husband?
My first husband I met when I was 26,
Okay.
25,
And
25.
what was his reaction when you told him about your life?
Can I be brutally honest? And I hate to even say this, I
Yeah.
didn't tell anybody about my life.
Really? Okay.
So he could be listening to this podcast right now going, wow, I never knew, but that makes a lot
Mhm.
of sense. I
Right?
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he's still close with my children. My children are grown now, so I'm sure he sees my name all over Facebook. I mean, I'm
Right.
still friends with his mother. He knows what I'm doing, so I'm
Mhm.
sure he's more than curious. I made comments. I made little itty bitty comments, but I really didn't say anything to any, even my second husband. I
Okay.
until I was ready to bam, like I finally couldn't take it anymore. I was
Hmm.
like, okay, this is why I am the way I am. Take me or leave me.
Yeah. I get that.
And what was that reaction when you finally broke down and told him everything?
Oh, 100% supportive.
That's good.
100%.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But the first husband I married, what people typically do, you marry someone that is very similar to what you grew up with because it's familiar.
Yeah.
I didn't, the way we talked to each other, and it wasn't healthy at all, but
Hmm.
I didn't know. It was what I was used to. So I was cool with it. So
And you have a master's in education and NLP certification. What is an NLP certification?
It's neurolinguistic programming. So
Okay.
basically, it is a whole science, and the easiest way to put it, and I encourage anybody just look it up, the basics of it, but it's really a way of reframing and rewriting your stories and telling telling your mind things in different ways so that they can deal with things and process things that happen. And it's a whole science. And I loved it because I needed to rewrite those stories because I was a big dissociator. So I stepped out of my life a lot of times and watched what was happening. But a lot of times when you do that, you fill in the blanks with stories, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't really remember. So this helped me to learn how to rewrite some of those stories. And also, if you grew up in that kind of trauma, you grow up in this like hyper vigilant, you have all these underlying stories that are had been fed to you your whole life, and you need to fix those. So it's bringing your kind of subconscious thinking up to the conscious level and changing it is the best way I can put it. I don't know
Okay.
if that really sums it up, but I encourage anybody just look up the basics of it. But it's a lot of reframing and just visualization and really, I don't want to say playing tricks on your mind, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's making your mind believe something different.
Okay. Gotcha. And you also are an expert in addiction counseling. I'm assuming that's probably the closest to your heart and what you went with the addiction counseling. So has that helped you as much as helped other people when you do that?
It is. And a lot of that was through Al Anon. I went through a lot of, the 12-step programs, and I went through them on both sides. I went through them as someone that struggled with their own addictions,
Hmm.
and I went through it on someone who needed help as a family of someone who had addictions. So I really got to see both sides of it. And I like that because it gave me a much more compassionate and empathetic approach to it. I'm not like, oh, let him hit rock bottom and then he'll learn and then he'll
Yeah.
stop drinking. But I really could look at it from both sides. And the certifications and stuff like that kind of just came as, well, I got to, let me just do this. But literally, it's like, even with my coaching, it's life experience. It's, there's no A to Z for healing. There's no there's no blueprint. Everything is so different for every person. But I literally have thrown everything at the wall. So I know what worked for me. So I know what I can at least suggest. And I also have been there.
Hmm.
My very first client said to me, Tammy, I've been going to therapy for 11 years, $110 a week for 11 years. And in
Wow.
18 minutes, you told me more about why I am the way I am
Wow.
than she did in 11 years. And I said, because I was you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, that's got to be great to hear that you could do that for someone. That's got to make you feel good that this was at least if this one person that I can do that for made it what I had to deal with all worth it at least. So
Yep.
I would
And
that's
I
how I
spent Yeah, absolutely. And I spent years and years and years and years where I can give someone a little mindset hack or something to do that literally flip the way they look at something differently in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And it's one, that's why I do the podcast. One comment, one show, one thing you say can literally change the trajectory of someone's entire life because it just makes them curious.
Yeah. And so we know what counsel you've gone through, kind of. And you wrote a book called Surviving Alcoholic Parents, a Teen ABC Guide. What made you decide to do that?
I wanted kids. Well, first of all, I wanted to get into coaching. I wanted to speak. I wanted to really reach the masses.
Mm,
And somebody said, well, write a book. That's like a business card. And I said, okay, but what am I going to write a book on? I mean, I didn't want it to be a memoir. I didn't want it to be my healing. I didn't want it to be any of that. What I wanted was a reference guide for kids that are going through it that don't understand. So it literally is an A to Z guide. I know people
mm,
are like, what? But I'm like, B stands for blackout drunk because that's something that I didn't get when I was a kid. I didn't know why my mother lied to me so bad, and it was because she didn't remember what she said. And then you get all the way to Z, which is Zen, which is just how to calm your mind and live in the present moment. It's just things that I wish someone had handed me when I was 12 and been like, hey, I know no knight in shining armor is coming to save you, but this might give you a little peace, just understanding.
For sure.
Did any of your friends growing up realize what you were going through?
Um, yes, we never really talked about it. I mean, my friend, I didn't have friends over a lot because it
Right.
was embarrassing. But like we called my mother the bitch to her face. Like even my
Wow.
friends
Wow.
would be like, "Hey, bitch, don't
Wow.
talk to me like that." Whatever. Okay, see ya. But usually, but I mean, there wasn't a sober moment at that point. So she was just mean to me. I mean, my mother broke my shin bone in front of a
Oh my
friend with
God.
a big iron, those big old irons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, they knew, but we didn't really talk about it. And now that I don't have many friends left from high school, but I was I mean, I was a rebellious little kid, I'm not gonna lie. And even the people that I like reconnect with now, they'll say to me like, "Wow, I'm watching what you're doing, and that is absolutely amazing." And now it all makes sense. So they all knew something was off, but nobody
Right.
ever said anything.
Right. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had one friend from kindergarten, which we moved away from in the fourth grade, who I still keep in touch with. But like I said, our parents partied together, so that was very normal. I
Hmm.
remember being at a picnic and her little sister got hit in the head with a softball bat. Like we were playing softball and she got hit, and none of the parents were sober enough to take her to the hospital. And I can remember
Jeez.
watching this girl with this like goose egg going, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna die." But it was just like, nah, just leave her there in the corner. We'll get her in the morning kind of thing. And that was
Wow.
the norm
Wow.
Where did you grow up?
in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yep. So
And I in one of the episodes I listened to, you talked about that you can love someone without loving yourself. And I completely like can understand that. Like there's days I just like I can come home and love her and love the dog and everything else, but I'm just like hating myself that day. So I completely get that. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're going with, but I understood it when you said it. So,
yeah, because people always say you can't love someone without loving yourself, and you most certainly can, but I am going to preface that by saying that if they don't know what's really going on, like if you're in so much hatred and self-loathing that you're not acting like your true self, you're not really giving them the true self to love. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So they're not really loving what they think. I say that all the time. My grandmother is the one person that probably would have given me unconditional love, but I never told her what was going on. So she didn't even know the real me. So
gotcha.
it's kind of like this, I don't know, yo-yo back and forth of like, I hate myself, I love myself, I hate myself. But I loved that puppy and my firstborn son way before I loved myself.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. So, and what made you decide to start a podcast?
Oh, I just loved it. Somebody asked me to be a guest one time, and I don't even know how it got started. And we had such a great conversation. And so I was like, well, this is kind of fun. So after like 100 of them, I was like, hey, maybe I should do this myself. And then I can be the one asking the questions because I made so many great connections. And I just like talking. I like talking, but again, I feel like it's so many podcasts have changed my life. Like one story, or I hear somebody tell a story about something, and I feel like there's not enough people. There's so many people in this realm of childhood trauma that are adults now that think that nobody ever had it like they did, that they had the worst life that anybody could possibly have. And I try to tell people somebody out there has had your experience, somebody understands. So the more you talk about it, the more people are free to open up and say, wow, that happened to me. And make it the norm, because ultimately, I mean, my podcast is called Adult Child of Dysfunction. I think dysfunction is more the norm at this
Yeah,
point,
for sure. Yeah. And it's
you know?
pretty messed up they put fun right in the middle of it too. I never liked that
Yeah,
either.
right?
That's
Yeah.
who came up with that word. So,
Yeah.
no, I
I guess
get
it's
it.
this fun. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. So I just love to talk. And it's actually becoming a TV show in a couple of weeks, I think, or a month or maybe,
Oh, cool.
because I want people to see people and be,
Hmm.
it's okay. You can share your story. Nobody judges anymore. I feel like, I mean, people are those people, but they're not your tribe anyway. So there's going
Yeah.
to be haters everywhere. But there's more people out there that will lend a helping ear or a sympathetic ear, or empathetic, not sympathetic, but there's more people out there that'll get your back than really judge you now. So,
Yeah, and I think it's more brought forward because I know the three of us right now grew up in the generation of just keep your mouth shut. You don't say anything. You're a kid. Kids are to be seen, not heard, and all that stuff. And it's like, no, I'm done with that now. I need to, talk about this. And there's just so many people that I come in contact with that like, dude, like, I'm so glad you brought that up the other day on your podcast, whatever, because I went through that and I was afraid to say anything about it. So,
hmm
and it just, will open people up to that and just the different ways it can affect people and all that. I mean, for years she didn't know I was dealing with stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
right.
He put on
And
a good
it's,
show, yeah, for the first 3 or 4 years, you know. And plus we were just really getting to know each other because our relationship started quick. I mean, we
mhm.
we met each other. We went on a first date. 3 or 4 weeks later, he moved in with me. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, so we were really in that get to know me phase. And yeah, for the first 2 or 3 years, I'd come home from work and he'd work and come home and how was your day? Well, my day was fine. It was normal. It was just normal.
Right.
And then
Right.
slowly, I started picking up on things and then I would ask him, like, what was your last relationship like? And in the beginning, when I'd ask him, he'd say, that's none of your fucking business. Yeah, yeah. Until finally, just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he finally broke and told me all kinds of stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and and that's great. I mean, that you're where you are at now, because
yeah,
some people live that way their whole lives and they never. And, it's like I tell people, because people are like, well, there's so much shame involved in the stuff I did. And I'm like, when you were a child and you were growing up like that, up until you became aware of why you did what you did, none of that counts because none of that was your fault. It was all done in survival. So you can spend the rest of your life beating yourself up about it, or you can know that now you're aware. Now it's your responsibility to do something about it and to make better choices now that you're aware. But, I used to go to the grocery store when the bell would ring at lunch. My mom wasn't feeding me for those 6 months. And I would hightail it to the grocery store. I'd run a mile and a half, and we were in Massachusetts then, and I would steal everything I could out of the grocery store. I would stuff cookies in my pocket and eat grapes I don't feel guilty about that. I ate.
yeah.
right.
People are like,
Yeah,
don't you feel bad that you stole? Hell no, I don't feel bad. I
you
survived.
survived.
So you're a warrior. If you survived, you're a warrior. But now that you're aware and now that you know why you get triggered, now you can like learn the tools. That's what I tell people. Now there's tools available. There weren't tools available before on how to regulate my nervous system. I didn't know why my right leg never stopped going up and down for like till I was 31. I mean, I would draw a little star with my thumb. I mean, that was all nervous system dysregulation, and I
Hmm.
didn't know. But as soon as I would get triggered, my thumb would start moving and making a little star. And but like I said, once you become aware, now it's time. Now you take responsibility going forward.
Yes.
I don't feel like I should hold 1 second of guilt, shame about anything I did in the past. It's done. I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. As long as like no one got like seriously hurt or anything like that. Yeah, I feel the same
Oh, right,
way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was the same way. I would eat pretty much dinner every day and that's it. Like there was no lunch, breakfast, or anything. Just, poor household, didn't have money and stuff like that. And it's just like we had like one meal a day essentially. I was malnourished and just like, and so anytime I could get my hands on some food, I would. Yeah, I'm the same
hmm
way. I'm like, I don't feel bad for it. Like it's just the way it was. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he first moved in, um, we would eat dinner, and then about an hour later, he'd have a second dinner, and then about an hour and a half later, he'd have a third dinner. I was like, man, how can you eat so much?
It's like growing up in the Depression when you're starving. And then my grandfather was like that. And then like turkeys would go on sale. He'd be like, oh my gosh, he'd go buy like 100 turkeys because he was so used to being
Yeah,
so hungry growing up,
yeah.
with 10 people. And so he kind of overcompensated. I'm like, Butter, you don't need 12 turkeys or 100 turkeys. And my grandmother used to pay us to come at night in the middle of the night when he was sleeping and take food out of their freezer because I mean, that's a total side note, but that just makes me
yeah,
laugh. but that's what it made me think of. But yeah, we do things out of survival. Our
Mhm.
brains are wired for survival. And then unfortunately, once we go into the adult world, our brains are wired for familiarity.
Mhm.
So that's why we carry on those same habits and those
Yeah.
same trends and those same relationships. And it's, you have to trick the brain.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a tricky thing to learn, and it took me a long time to get to that as well, to where I'm like I can be calm now. I'm in a good relationship. It's everything's great. I've got great things going on and everything else, and I need to just not. My hardest part is wait for the other shoe to drop. I'm that kind of person still, where it's like, okay, well, I'm one of those, if things are going well, I'm like, well, what's around the corner? And I
Hmm.
need to get that out of my head, and that's something I have not been able to get rid of. So,
Yeah. And that's something that takes a lot of work. And it's a lot of like, just, I mean, I don't want to say affirmations, but because you still have to dig deep into that underlying subconscious programming. But any chance you get just to tell yourself, wow, I'm safe now and I deserve this.
yeah, yeah.
This is what it was meant to be. This is not abnormal. Because I was like that for a long time. I mean, if your parents were like that, I can remember. I mean, even still to this day, I learned the key in the door was an indication. How many times it took them to unlock the door was an indication of how bad my night was going to go. But I'm like, okay, but I can do this now. So then I learned when my children were out partying, I could tell what kind of night they had by, how long it took them to get the key in the door. But you become hyper vigilant to so many different things. And that's where like the NLP comes in of reprogramming that and rewriting some of that and really giving it a different meaning. I know that sounds so cliche and so easy, it sounds so simple, but the steps are not that difficult. They're just, I always say healing is simple and growth is simple, but it's hard. So it's simple steps, but it's hard to implement, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
for sure.
Hard to
Yeah,
get yourself
absolutely.
to do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And did you have the typical like suicidal thoughts and like all that? Did you like to create chaos and stuff like that to, because I noticed when I was on my own, like there's sometimes when like early on, especially when we would go see my parents and stuff, and I would just start a fight with her
Yeah.
because I'm like, this will make it easier when it gets
Yeah.
started there, and I'm already in that mood. And
That's right.
yeah.
Every time we had to go to see his family, he would start a fight with me just prior. And then
Oh, that's interesting.
it clicked one day. I was like, you're doing this purposely.
And I didn't realize I was doing
Yeah,
that. I was just a defense mechanism. Like, well, I got to get prepped for going over there because more than likely
Yeah.
there's probably going to be an argument or a fight or something, and at least I'll be in that mindset now. And I didn't realize I was doing it
Yeah.
until she pointed it out.
Yeah. And just knowing you were going there got your body in that
Mm-hmm.
defensive fight or flight mode. And you
Mm-hmm.
either fight or you flight or you fawn, the people pleasing. But yeah, when definitely I can see that. I tended to go the fawn route on pretty much everything. I was just very silent. Nobody knew what was going on in my mind. I did not wear my emotions on my sleeves at all. I do now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk in at work and be like, "Hey, guys, your energy is bad." Like, I'm like, I just tell everybody what I'm thinking now, but I didn't used to. But I mean, I did have a period when I was living with my mother that suicide I thought would have been the absolute best thing in the world. I mean, I was ready. I was totally prepped. I at one point had actually contemplating taking her life. And then because of the guilt of thinking, of hearing so many times, don't you can't hate her, she's your mother,
Mm-hmm.
that I turned it on myself. And thank goodness. And that's the joke is that man, I can't even do that right. But I called the suicide hotline. They told me my parents would be upset. Like
wow.
that was the wrong answer.
Right.
So whoever that was should have been fired on that hotline. Okay.
Jeez.
But yeah, so I did go through that, but it was never to cause outward turmoil. It was always
Mm-hmm.
inward.
Yeah. And do you like early on? This is another thing too with me. Did you think that people being nice to you for a while had an ulterior motive? They wanted something from you instead of just to be nice to you? Was it hard to keep friends and stuff like that?
I didn't trust anybody.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, to
Yeah.
me, everybody had some kind of motive, especially guys.
Mm.
Like,
Get
no,
that.
there's not just people being nice to me to be nice to me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it. I just assumed everything had an ulterior motive.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I that's very. I You're the first one that's actually said something like that. I've had a lot of people I talked to that were like, no, it's good making friends and all that. I enjoyed my friends. They were more my family than my family and stuff. But it was nice to hear you say that you felt that same way because I was the same way too. I'm just anytime my parents needed or were nice to me, it's because they needed me to do chores. And
Hmm.
oh, hey, how was your day today? Okay, cool. Oh, great. Would you go out and clean the backyard? Like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
and that
There was
just
a
slowly just
price to
started.
pay. Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
A price to pay for
you want to play
everything.
your video games? You got to go, clean up the backyard or clean up the front yard or go trim the bushes or mow the lawn and stuff like that. And
And because of that, now he hates yard work.
yep.
I hate yard work too.
I love yard work.
Oh my goodness, no, I am
Yeah.
not the green thumb. I live in Florida, and I thank goodness that it kind of naturally does its own thing with all the cactuses and stuff because I have no desire.
Here too, because we're in Arizona, so your yards are granite and cactus, and
Or,
maybe a palm
Mm.
tree or
or
a yucca.
at least they should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, how are you with silence? Are you comfortable sitting in silence or do you always need to have something going in the background?
I used to always have to have something going, and I think it was because again I was anticipating like the silence to me was stillness, and
Mm.
stillness made me very, very uncomfortable. Now I absolutely love the silence. Like I crave it. I will wake up in the morning and I don't grab my phone. I don't do anything. I literally just lay there, close my eyes, pretend there's nothing else in the world, do my little whatever, I talk about what I'm grateful for. Thank God for another day. But I love the silence.
Okay.
Didn't always, though. That was
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get
I
that.
don't have an issue with silence. So a lot of times on the way home from work, and I have like a 45-minute to an hour drive. Sometimes I just like to drive in silence, and I'm fine with it. Justin absolutely cannot do it.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten to that point. I
Mm.
have to have
I
music
mean,
or yeah, TV, something.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people I know can't sleep unless the TV's on or the radio's on or they have headphones in, and I I I embrace the silence for some reason because it's just to me it's a time just that I don't have to think about anything.
Hmm.
Like even when you hear like when it's raining, I love to sleep when it's raining, but I still lay there and go, oh, listen to the rain.
I
Sure,
You're
yeah.
still thinking about something.
I
And I know
used to, yeah.
meditation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was say I used to be really good with sleeping when it rains and storms, but one year we're at our old house, we had a eucalyptus tree fall and destroy our backyard. So now
Every time it
every
rains,
time it
you can't
rains, I
sleep.
can't sleep because I'm like, what am I going to wake up to? And that
Mm.
sucks because I used to love rain used to calm me down like nothing else, but now I'm just like, okay, great. Especially now we're in our own house and everything. I'm like, yeah, I don't, what's going to happen? And I hate that.
There's and you can do like that's one of the things with NLP. Like those are the kind of things that kind of thing that you can kind of get rid of. I don't want to call them fears, but just
Hmm.
triggers.
Hmm.
And that's part of, where now it's like if I get triggered or have a reaction to something, I literally just stop and it's like pause. And I know whatever this is, 90 seconds, it's gone. Any emotion is gone in 90 seconds. So I'm like, and I just kind of sit with it. Don't be like, oh, I'm scared. I'm this, I'm that. Just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but just sit with it. And I'm safe. There's nothing wrong with this because it's kind of like the reverse psychology of your brain. If you are afraid to go out of the house and then you step out of the house and nothing bad happens, instead of going, ooh, good, it's safe to step out of the house, what your brain says to protect you is, ooh, I stepped out and nothing bad happened. So, you know what I mean? So it does
Yeah.
like the opposite. So it's like, that was, or got back in and nothing happened. So I better do that again. It reinforces the opposite kind of what you're doing. So like if say you're afraid of something and the tree or whatever it is, when you hear that tree, be like, wow, that's amazing. That tree dropped and like put a positive story around it. And like every tree that drops is cool. I mean, really like vague here, but there's with the NLP, it's worth it to just read a tiny bit about kind of how to reframe things like that because like I had a client and every time she walked in work, if somebody raised their eyebrows at her, she would be like, "Oh my God, they hate me. I'm not doing my job." And she was so insecure. And I said, "Do you ever think that maybe they just have itchy eyes?" She's like, "Never really thought about that." I said, "Next time someone raises their eyebrow at you, picture them with itchy eyes, like whatever you got to do." And it was so funny. And she was so focused on the fact that their eyes were itchy or that they couldn't control their own facial tics that it took like eventually she just it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel bad to her. And she literally like rewrote that scenario. But and you can do it with just about any trigger somehow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look more into that because I haven't heard of that about that yet. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a very interesting practice, but there's simple visualization and reframing and there's simple steps that you can like get a free PDF download or something. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Really walk
Very
yourself
cool.
through
Very cool.
them.
And so what hobbies do you have?
I like to read. I
Okay.
like to walk. I like to go to the beach. And those are probably my three biggest one. I like to spend time with my dog. Mostly that's really reading is probably reading, writing, and just walking and being on water is probably my best things. I'm not very like musical. I mean, I like listening to music, but I'm
Mhm.
not very, I don't play an instrument or anything like that. I used to stamp collect with my father, and that was like the one really big good memory I have. And so I still play with that a little bit here and there. That's pretty much it.
What do you like to read?
Self-help books.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to say self-help, but I really like reading anything about the brain.
Okay.
I know I just read a book called Epiphany, and it was all these stories of just epiphanies that people had and how it changed like their trajectory of their life because they were like laying in bed one night and had this idea. And it's big CEOs having these ideas. So anything about the brain and mindset because and energy. I
Mhm.
like reading about energy because I think that's our future of self-healing is really the mindset and the energy kind of combined. So,
Okay.
How many children do you have?
three.
How do they
They're
deal with your story?
um very well. I mean, we don't necessarily talk a lot about things. I'll throw in like little stories because now that I have no emotional attachment to any of these stories, I'll be like, oh yeah, when I was 16 and my mom was pimping me out to her drug dealers, and I'll be like, and they just kind of shake their head. But I remember when I was scuba diving with my son one time, and we were 50 feet under the water, and I got separated from the group. And somehow he was back on the boat for like 30 minutes. I was under the water following some guy that I didn't know. And I get back on the boat and I said to him, I said, "You weren't even the least bit scared that your mother was lost 50 feet under the water?" He goes, "Mom, you've been through so many tough things and you were such a warrior." I was I think they realized that it just gave me this sense of resilience that is like unstoppable. I mean, I had a stroke in January and
Wow.
my blood pressure went to 222 over 110 and my heart rate never went above 75
Wow.
Hmm.
because I literally was like using everything I had in me to just calm my heart rate. And the whole time I still get these huge blood pressure spikes. They don't even know why, but my heart rate never goes up
Hmm.
Wow.
because I've learned to just
Yeah.
calm it,
Calm the
stop it.
chaos. Yeah.
Are your parents still
Calm the,
alive?
no, no.
No.
My mom passed when I was 18
Okay.
and my of cirrhosis, and my dad just died like I think 8 years ago,
How is
2015,
how was
really
your
9 years.
how was your kids' relationship with them?
My kids never met my mom,
Okay.
but they absolutely adored my father.
Really?
That was, yeah, that was their role model. That was because like I said, the best way to describe him is when I was growing up was he never did anything wrong purposely, but he never wasn't there to do anything right. But he was the perfect grandpa. He literally acted more like a father to them. And they adored him. We talked to him every day and yeah. They were actually on a cruise with him um when he passed. They were on a cruise and they docked on Christmas Eve like 9 years ago, I guess. And my kids were with him and then he died Christmas Day.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow.
So,
Huh.
yeah.
What were your feelings of them having such a great relationship with him?
Oh, I loved it because I adored my dad. Like
Okay.
it was really weird. There was never, I mean, I look at it now and say, he wasn't emotionally there, he wasn't this, but he never purposely did me any harm. I mean, he said to me when I was 13, he said, Tammy, me and your mother are doing irreparable damage to you, and we don't know how to stop it. Like, I don't know how to help you. He said that when I was 13 and then never mentioned again the fact that he was even an alcoholic until he was getting ready to have a kidney out about 15 years ago. And he begged me to tell the hospital that he was an alcoholic because he was afraid he was going to die of withdrawal. So I had to tell them, hey, he's a big drinker. And they're like, yeah, yeah, we understand. So, but I had a great relationship with my dad, but we never talked about the stuff. We
Yeah.
just never did. I just
Mhm.
never thought it was worth bringing up. I mean, I buried all of that and didn't want to ever hurt his feelings because I know that what he did out of survival. I mean, he
Mhm.
got out of the Navy and would have done great in the Navy to take care of his kids because he knew my mom was so abusive and he did everything he did the best he could.
Mhm.
So
So where did your love for turtles come from?
I don't know. Isn't that
Okay.
weird? I literally don't know. I mean, me and all three of my kids have matching turtle tattoos.
Nice.
And it's so strange. I always say if we ever get stuck in Mexico on a cruise or something, they'll be like, the family with the turtles. I don't know. I don't know why. I just feel like I don't know. Isn't it weird? But I really love them. They're all over my house. My whole bedroom has these huge sea turtle pictures and stuff. It's I don't know. I guess I could have picked something prettier, but I don't know. I like them.
And then this is the love being barefoot. Is that your whole life or
I got that from my grandmother. My
okay?
grandmother, the minute she would buy shoes, she would rip out the tongue and pull out the laces. And I used to tell her, Graham, you look like white trash. And she's like, I got all kinds of money. And put your shoes on. Like she was always barefoot. And now it's funny because when I have clients and stuff that are like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I'm like, take off your shoes. Take
Ground.
off your shoes and ground yourself. Like
Hmm.
there's so much energy coming from the center of the earth. So I feel like inherently, like my grandmother had that, but I feel like I just like to ground. If I could never wear shoes again, I would be fine.
I just started
Literally.
recently. I started recently reading about grounding mats, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's very interesting.
I mean, it's when you do like the grounding exercises and stuff, you get to a point where, like I said, like when I was having the stroke, I was sitting while laying on the curb and I just made sure I was positioned to where I could pull energy in my head and out through my feet. Like I just felt the need to do that, and you feel different. You really do once you do it for a while.
Hmm.
You can feel energetic shifts or tingles in your hands or whatever it is. It's very powerful. But I hear people all the time. I was just on a podcast this morning, and I the lady I said, "Well, what do you have any tips for people?" And she's like, "Walk barefoot."
Hmm.
It's like,
Hmm.
wow, I like you.
Okay, fair enough. And where did the burning the roof of your mouth come from?
Oh my gosh, you really read my stuff, didn't
I
you?
did.
That's so funny. Um, so I don't know where that came from either, but if you've ever heard of human design, I remember saying human design is another study of like meridian, like your body mapping kind of. And I remember saying to my friend who is a human design expert, I'm like, what is it with me and hot stuff? Like my showers have to, like my sauna has to be 106 degrees, my shower 105, my showers are probably 115 degrees. I love to burn. Like if food is semi-warm, like lukewarm, it literally makes me gag. Like my food has to be smoking hot. Like my husband can serve, he does all the cooking, he serves it for me. 9 times out of 10, I get up, I throw it in the microwave for 45 seconds. But something about I don't know why. I know this is really weird that I'm even saying this in public, but something about burning the roof of my mouth, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I can't even imagine, but she said, well, your temperature hot is in your human design. So that's why you like spicy food, you like hot water, you have to have your saunas so hot. You had to move to Florida because I had to be in the heat. Like So I think it's got something to do with my human design.
Interesting.
I'm like
People
that with
think I'm really strange.
I'm like that with coffee. If it's not scorching hot, I don't want to drink it. And the minute it goes below that temperature, yeah, I have to microwave it again.
So I'd be curious to know, like, I don't know human design. I'm not a human design expert, but if you ever find out your human design, let me know if it's because
Uh,
other things, like I was like, why do I feel the need to be near water or in the mountains? Like I can't be on flat ground unless there's water. And she pulled up my human design. She's like, well, you're in natural shores, which means you need to be by a shoreline or a mountain. So like where the ground and the mountain touch or,
mhm.
and it was like so much about me. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
don't tell me anymore.
Yeah, and
Didn't want to know what
I like the heat here in Arizona, and everybody else is like, "Oh, it's horrible outside." I'm like, "It feels good."
it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's starting to get warm in Florida and I'm out on the deck the other day and I'm just like laying there and people are like, get out of the heat. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I
Hmm.
love it. So
Is that so the water thing and the heat thing, is that why you love the ocean too then probably because you can kind of get into the water and then get out and get warm again and
probably, and it's also natural shores. So it's
mm,
the
yeah.
ocean is just my happy place. I live in Merritt Island. So if I go out of my house, if I turn, I have to go over water to get anywhere. I have to turn right and go over a big bridge or left and go over a big bridge. So I can't like, and that's my happy place. When I come home, I've only been here like 6 years, but when I come home, the minute I hit that bridge, I'm like, home. And it wouldn't
I'm
matter what house I went to. It's just that environment.
for sure. Yeah, I'm an Aquarius, so I think that's the water thing for me. I love water as well. But that's the only connection I really know that I have to it. But yeah, it's very interesting. Do you have any like personal like solutions for people with anxiety or any mental health that you wanted to let our listeners know about? And
You
me?
know, the the best thing I can say is that kind of going back to the emotion thing, if you have anxiety, get a list of tools that help you, whether it's box breathing, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, anything that can bring you back to the present. Anxiety is really nothing more than either catastrophizing about something that's going to happen because of something that happened in the past or being triggered from a memory of something happening in the past. So you have to keep continually bringing yourself back to present. So box breathing is a good one. I've had people just stare at something on their wall and just, it could be a picture, like right now I'm looking at a picture of a tree. It could just be that tree and just focus. And every time your mind wanders, go, just say, if you say to yourself, tree, I'm safe. Tree, I'm safe.
Mhm.
Um, just things like that. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is really good for anxiety, where you look around and you see 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 thing you can taste. Again, it's a pattern interrupt. So you're disrupting whatever is stressing you out, and you're right back to the present. That is the biggest thing. And then probably the most, you know, that's 2 big things that work. But practice these things when you're not anxious or you're not having an anxiety attack. Because I've had full blown anxiety attacks that have landed me in the hospital where I thought I was having a heart attack. I literally could not breathe.
Mhm.
And I thought it was an asthma. I thought it was a million different things. And they're like, no, you're having a panic attack. And it is debilitating. It feels like someone's sitting on your chest and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, just practicing it when you're not anxious so that it becomes muscle memory.
Okay.
Because the problem is when you're anxious or you're suffering anxiety, you're splitting your mind and you have your logical mind and you have your fight and flight mind. When you're in your fight and flight mind, your logical mind shuts off. So you might have 15 different exercises that you can practice when you're being anxious, and they're not going to work because you're not going to be able to access that. So like I have a girl at work that has pretty bad anxiety, and first she comes running to me usually, but I'm just like, girl, bring out your list. So she has a list on her phone and she just pulls it out. She's like, oh yeah, box breathing. And then it's still to stop. And I tell her just the whole time, just be like, I'm here right now and I'm safe. And again, like any emotion, any feeling is going to pass in 90 seconds. So just be curious about it. if you start to, your heart starts racing, instead of being like, oh my God, I can't breathe, be like, wow, that's really interesting that my heart is racing. Like, obviously, I'm breathing. I can
Yeah.
do this. It's
Yeah.
only 90 seconds. And I know it sounds, again, easy, but it takes practice.
Mhm.
Um, but having those exercises when you're not anxious is the key. There's so many different things. Cold water on the back of your neck, that
Okay.
stimulates your vagus nerve. If you're starting to get anxious and you're in a crowd, humming, that's
Really
all like vagus nerve. Yes,
interesting.
humming stimulates your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve runs basically down your whole body, but it ends down like kind of in your gut. So if you get that start nervous kind of icky feeling in your stomach, if you hum,
Huh.
it will loosen that up.
Okay.
That's
So,
really
and
interesting.
you can literally Google like quick exercises during panic or quick exercises during anxiety, and they'll give you a bunch of those exercises because there's so many that you don't think about. But if you write them down and you pull them out on, like, she has a little notes thing in her phone now, and I'll just pull it out for her and be like, I'm not doing this for you, girl. You got this. Read it. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So, our last question that we ask everybody, because Justin's a drummer and our podcast is called Drumming Up Conversation, who are your favorite drummers or drummer?
I would, if I have to say, and again, I'm not a huge musician and I didn't buy tapes or CDs. So a lot of times I heard things and just heard the blah, 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 and didn't always know who it was. But if I had to pick one, I would say Phil Collins,
Very cool.
because I remember that concert and I remember how he walked, and I don't know what it was that stuck with me. And he walked across the stage and he singing and timed it so perfectly to sit down and just
Yeah,
and like belt it out. I was like, that's impressive.
Very
for
cool.
sure.
Just-
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So if I had to pick one, so
Fair
yeah.
enough. And where can our listeners find you?
Probably easiest, just go to my website, tammyvincent.com. And I'm redoing it, but everything's on there. Reach out to me. I love to chat with people. I don't ever charge to chat. Never should cost to chat with someone. But just, yeah, reach out. I have free courses on there. I have just anything you want. Read a little bit and reach out to me.
Awesome.
I'm more than welcome to take calls. Anything.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
You're very, very fun to work with and everything, getting this all scheduled and all that. And J-Ro said to say hi from him and Chad. So
Okay. Hi.
all right. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So that was our great conversation with Tammy Vincent. She's awesome. We learned so much from that about different things to do, and
I encourage anybody that wants to know more about her, listen to the first 3 episodes of her podcast
yeah,
and listen to everything that she's been through and the fact that she's still here
and functioning and helping
and
people.
helping people. It's
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and listen to all of the episodes. I listen to quite a few because I like listening to when they have guests and all that too, just to kind of get an idea of how they talk with them and what subjects they bring up and everything else. Especially that with me and anything helps, and I'll look into anything I can to help. And we talked a little bit at the end off air about this and that, and I just let her know that this podcast is maybe do a full 180, which I know we've talked about a lot of times as far as that. We double blackout blinds, and I'd go to work.
Oh my
I'd stop
God.
at the store real quick,
The-
run in there, just get what we need to do, and get out. And then
Friday afternoon, I'd pull into the garage, the door would go down. We would not see the light of day until Monday
yeah,
when the sun came up.
yeah. And now I was telling her that now it's like, hey, after the podcast, let's go out and let's go do stuff and go hang out and do this and do that. And I like to go out and do things again. So it's definitely helped. But
Yep.
I like talking to people that, I mean, I like to say that I had a rough childhood, but she definitely had a rougher one than I did, and not to say it's a competition or anything, but it's one of those that just because you think you had it really bad, someone probably had it worse.
Yeah. Or we were talking the other day okay, so I had a good childhood, but my parents died early. So what is better, to have a good childhood but no parents later in life, or you where you struggled growing up, but now you have a chance going forward to change everything? What is better?
I don't think you can compare it,
Yeah.
but it is nice that I've had the chance to reconcile and talk about how I felt, like especially that one day when I went and finally I set up a time to meet with my dad and just talk to him one on one and get it all out of my system, and it
Mhm.
really helped too. So because I don't think I really went to therapy after that.
I don't think so. You haven't gone to
So
therapy in a while.
it's been a couple years
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was what, twice a month? Or was it once a week at the
No, it
beginning?
started off as once a week, and then like 3 months in, I was like, okay, I can probably just do it like twice a month, and then it got to once a month, and then I just stopped going.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, the counselor I had, she said specifically, like the whole point of this is for you not to have to do this
Yeah, not to
anymore.
come to it.
So as soon
Yeah.
as you feel like you don't need it anymore,
She wouldn't be offended.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that was nice to hear too. And I think she understood my mentality is like, I don't want to let you down. I don't want to stop showing up because how is that going to make you feel? Are you going to be upset and disappointed? Think, well, why did they not like me and stuff like that? Or so that's how my mind works, and I think she understood that. That's why she said it. But yeah, I haven't heard from her since I had my last appointment stuff, and she understands it. So, but
Cool.
and it's nothing I've really gone like, man, I really need to go back or anything either. So that's good. And now I know to just listen to my body and my mind. Know if I need to, I maybe it might just be one. And now I'm good enough with like being on Zoom and this way I would even do it just from home,
Mhm.
knowing that, this is fine. Everything, there's no lack of communication. There's no like, as long as they have a good connection, I have a good connection. There's no like, oh, I didn't hear you. What was that? Or anything like that. So,
Then you're all anxious from that.
well, you know how I get if someone doesn't hear me the first time I say something, I get
Oh,
kind of
really?
upset.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's fine. You can air it out. I don't care.
Oh my God. Like just the other day with the WWE show, it wouldn't go back to the beginning. Oh my God. He was throwing the remotes down, cussing
know.
at the TV. He was calling Netflix.
And they were no help. Like, well, you can't go back and watch them again. Well, really? Because I've done it ever since you've had it on Netflix.
A great help. Thank you.
Well, because every week prior we were able to, because we don't
Yeah.
ever get to it on time. Like it starts before we can really
Right.
get into it, and it's like every time I've just gone in, clicked start from the beginning, and it's gone right back to the beginning. This one just kept going to the same, right in the middle of a match. Like,
Yeah,
come
and then
on.
the person told you, oh, while it's still live, you can't go back. And you're like, well, really, I've done this since January. And we had that issue with DirecTV once when we were trying to watch it at your mom and dad's, right?
And they said you can't watch
You
on
can't,
demand.
you're
And
like,
then
"Rick, I've done it before."
and then next time we stayed over there, we could, and we've done it everywhere else. So yeah, I just don't like people lying to me. Just tell me you can do it, you can fix it, or you can't.
Or I
Don't
don't
lie to
know.
me. Yeah,
I don't know how to help you,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. So
And that
yeah.
works too.
Yeah. I
Sometimes.
just don't like being lied to because, like, no, you've watched me start back from the
Yeah.
beginning, half when it's half an hour in or something. Like, so yeah, don't bullshit me. Just yeah, and
Don't pull shit or bullshit.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
Awesome.
well, thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate you listening and watching. I'll watch for sure too. See me look down every once in a while. It's just
We got
keep the
notes.
conversation going,
Yeah.
get the notes, and I don't like to miss things because there's times I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to ask that one. That would have been really good. And she's really good about remembering everything I've asked. She's a very good listener because I threw 2 or 3 things at her and she answered every single one, and
Yeah.
I really like that.
And it's funny because I did hear on those first 3 episodes that she will talk to people for free,
Yeah, that's
which
really
is
cool.
rare. That's rare.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a whole like, hey, I can give you money and I'd rather pay you for it because I appreciate your help. And there's probably other people like I just really can't, or
Or just in the moment, just I need
yeah,
someone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I like that. I mean, I like to be that person. I always tell people, hey man, if you're ever having a shitty day, just call me anytime. I don't care.
I've had people, dump lots of shit on me, but they
Same.
know that I'm gonna keep it and I'm not gonna spread it around.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, we've had recently with someone in particular giving us some information like I'm not, omerta, man. Like I ain't saying shit.
Hmm.
I'm not going to talk. So, yeah, like
And I've always been like that. People have always just like felt comfortable enough with me for whatever reason, or I could barely know someone and they'll just bleh, everything, you know.
I've had people like
Yeah.
that with me too. I've
Yeah.
had people, total stranger somewhere, and like to just start talking to me about like things. I'm like, that's just weird. Is that why I'm here? Is that why I've survived the one suicidal attempt at least? Just because now I'm here to help this person, or that they can
Mhm.
talk. Like, you start thinking about that kind of stuff too. I'm very spiritual for sure. I think there's a reason for things. But yeah, I mean, and her talking about like making positives out of negatives was really cool about like that tree falling, because I used to, as soon as it would start raining, I would actually fall asleep
You had to turn it into, oh, cool, a tree fell.
because that sucked.
Yeah, it did.
Because
it destroyed
for one, it destroyed the backyard
it
and
destroyed parts of the
fence,
block wall.
and our landlord was horrible people. So it's like, how long is this going to take to get
Right.
fixed? And then there's going to be people coming in and out of the yard and everything else, and it's like I hate that kind of stuff too, because I don't trust people. And yeah, it was just all like 10 things for that one thing that went wrong, and it's
That
like,
tree was a little taller, it would have destroyed the house.
yep. And I said it when we moved in. I was
Yeah,
like,
you did.
eventually
Yeah.
we're going to have a really bad monsoon, and that thing's coming down. Sure enough, 6 years later, or whatever it was. Poof.
Yep. Yeah.
So, well,
So
thank you for
awesome.
listening. Yeah.
Intro and outro music is provided by Arizona prog metal band Temporal Displacement, Justin's band. You
Just
can find it anywhere you listen to your favorite music, and check it out because there's a newer album on there, the old album's on there, and some revised old stuff,
Yeah.
which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And we're going to be changing providers again soon, too. I know I brought that up, and I just need to bring the other computer out and start working on that. But yeah, soon there might be 2 spots for it, but it'll get condensed into one. I just need to figure out the best way to get the stuff onto the new distribution and get that figured out. But luckily, our guest this afternoon, we're gonna have another guest, and we'll probably talk about that too. That's gonna be a fun one, because it's gonna be something we haven't done in a while. And so stay tuned for that. That should be out next week.
Yep.
So yeah, anyway,
Awesome.
go ahead.
Any questions or comments, email us at drummingupconversation@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Drumming Up Conversation, and on X at Drum Conversing. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, like I said, we're releasing all videos now. So anything, even if it's just the two of us, we're doing videos as well. So just,
Give us a nice review and tell a friend.
yeah, keep following us, keep subscribing. It helps us. It lets us know who's listening and who's watching and everything else. And because I like to check those just every once in a while to see how we're doing and everything. And again, we want to make this as much full time as we can. So help us with everything.
Yep.
Subscribe. We love all that, and reach out to us.
Yep.
We love getting guests. We love meeting new people, and yeah.
Yes.
So for Drumming Up Conversation, I'm Justin Wood.
I'm Andrea Wood.
No mercy.
Drumming up conversation.